The issue I see all the time is the right shoulder gets way too low compared to the left. Now, why is that an issue? If my right shoulder is way too low compared to my left, that moves my low point back behind the ball, which means I'm gonna hit the ground behind the ball, fat shots, or miss the ground altogether and hit thin shots. I'd like my shoulders to feel more level. The right shoulder can be slightly low and left, but I want it to feel more level. Here's a cool way to do this. Put your hands on your quads here, your setup position. Now take your left fingertips and push them down to the point where they get to your kneecap. So you can see here that my fingertips of my left hand are lower than my right. That makes my left shoulder lower than my right. That's what I want to feel. Now, when I put my right hand back on, naturally that's going to change. My right shoulder will be a little bit lower, but the key is not to be excessive. I want to talk to you today about Live View Golf. Now you guys hear me say all the time that you need feedback when you're practicing. You need to know if you're actually doing what you're trying to do, and the best way to give yourself feedback ultimately is video. And not only is video the best way to give yourself feedback, but being able to see yourself simultaneously as you're doing a movement is the best form of video feedback. It's the best way I've seen to make changes in your swing and be able to correlate the differences between your feels and your reels. Live View is super easy to use and set up. Simply set it up behind or in front of you. You connect it with your iPad or phone, pop that on the ground. You can actually do your practice, see yourself as you're doing it, the best way to expedite your process. I encourage you guys to check out Live View Golf. We'll put a link in the description down below with a coupon code. In today's video, we're gonna talk about chipping, how to hit the ball solid, the biggest mistakes I often see with players who struggle with contact with their chipping. Now, I've got a shot here where I'm just off the green, just a baseline, normal 10, 15 yard shot, nothing crazy going on with my eye. I would say about 80% of the time, I'm using just my normal sand wedge, 56-degree sand wedge for these types of shots. And there's three things I see when I ask a player to demonstrate these for me, and that struggles with contact. So the three things I want to share with you to check if you do struggle with contact, you want to hit those chip shots a little more solid, hit them closer to the hole, ultimately get the ball up and down. Three things. Number one would be the distance of my feet in terms of how far apart they are. If I take a normal full swing sand wedge setup, here would be like a 110 yard shot. And now notice the distance between my heels. That's likely, we'll call it like 14 inches. As I take my setup position now with my chip shot, see what happened with my feet? I would see good chippers get the feet to the point where it's about a club head length apart between their heels. Now you'll note my front foot, my toes are a little farther than my heels, a little more than a club head. That's because I like to flare my front foot out a touch. So I would get a club head between my heels and then a little bit farther with the front foot. Now, that front foot flare, I'd say it's a little bit optional. I like that as it helps us a little bit with the rotation in the follow through. We'll get to that. But the heel line, if you take your setup with your chip shots and your heels are over a foot apart, that's too far. We're only trying to hit a short shot, 5, 10, 20 yards. I don't need wide feet. I don't need power. I'm trying to be weak on purpose here. So much closer with the heel line would be part number one. Part number two would be the shoulder tilt. Now, when I take a setup, because my right hand's lower on the grip than my left, my right shoulder will be slightly, keyword, slightly lower than my left at setup. The big fatal error here with your chipping is that the shoulders get too tilted. The issue I see all the time is the right shoulder gets way too low compared to the left. Now, why is that an issue? If my right shoulder's way too low compared to my left, that moves my low point back behind the ball, which means I'm gonna hit the ground behind the ball, fat shots, or miss the ground altogether and hit thin shots. I'd like my shoulders to feel more level. The right shoulder can be slightly low and left, but I want it to feel more level. Here's a cool way to do this. Put your hands on your quads here, your setup position. Now take your left fingertips and push them down to the point where they get to your kneecap. So you can see here that my fingertips of my left hand are lower than my right. That makes my left shoulder lower than my right. That's what I want to feel. Now, when I put my right hand back on, naturally that's going to change. My right shoulder will be a little bit lower, but the key is not to be excessive. So hands on quads, put your fingertips down to the point where they touch your left knee. That's the feel that I want. So feet much closer. You're going to feel likely like your left shoulder is a little bit lower, shoulders more level. Part number two, with my shoulders more level, That makes it easier for me to hit the ground at or in front of the ball for solid contact. And the third thing, the last thing I see all the time, is people keeping their chest and head facing down towards the ball for too long. What we want to have happen is have a natural rotation on the way through. So my shirt buttons, my chest, my eyes should turn on the way through. I want you to think that you're just going to follow the club head. So as the club head passes the ball and works towards the target, my body goes along with it. So 3 things from face on: feet closer, shoulders more level, let myself turn on the way through. Feet closer, shoulders feel more level, let myself turn on the way through. And that would be the procedure that I would use just for a stock sand wedge shot. I very rarely, maybe never, have seen someone with their left shoulder too low. Almost never. I see a lot with the right shoulder too low. I very rarely see someone with the feet too close, a lot too far apart, and I very rarely see someone turn too much. So I would go ahead, you can exaggerate those pieces a little bit. All of those are designed to help you hit ball first, ground second, hit the chip shot solid, get them closer to the hole, get the ball up and down, shoot lower scores, have more fun. Hope these help.